In Konoha the opening game plays as Jikuni Yuanichi Chapter 601-625. Chapter 601. In addition to Frieza's father and Frieza, there is a third party. That is the team brought by Frieza and his team. Chi-Chi and Bulma are using medical ninjutsu to support the people fighting, so as to ensure their safety. However, using chakra in this way is very physically demanding. Chi-Chi said to Bulma, "We can't go on like this, our physical strength will be exhausted sooner or later." Hearing this, Bulma first glanced at Kusuo Hatake, who was still fighting with Frieza. The two have been fighting evenly. Looking at this scene, Bulma frowned and said, "Even if we run out of physical strength, we must persist, because Kusuo Hatake and the others are fighting hard, how can we escape from the battlefield?" Chi-Chi said nothing after hearing this. She also looked at Kusuo Hatake. Indeed, Kusuo Hatake was fighting with Frieza, and the battle was very fierce. Everyone is insisting, so they can't run away. Although she said so, Chi-Chi insisted again. Although her willpower was very strong, if things exceeded the limit of the human body, then it would be useless to insist. Chi-Chi felt that she couldn't hold on any longer, and she couldn't help but complain again. "No, we can't do this anymore, I can't hold on any longer." Seeing Chi-Chi holding on so hard, Bulma frowned. She didn't say anything, just thinking, what should I do? Bulma thought for a while. Suddenly, she thought of a way, and Bulma said to Chi-Chi happily, "I got it." She looked at Chi-Chi, and Chi-Chi also looked at her, very curious. What solution did Bulma come up with? Bulma said, "Since we can use medical ninjutsu on others, then we can naturally use medical ninjutsu on ourselves. Let's use this method to restore our physical strength." Seeing this, Chi-Chi was startled. She was a little surprised. She was really confused. Why didn't she think of this? It's not difficult, because it's still very easy. Since medical ninjutsu can save others, it can also save themselves. So, Chi-Chi nodded and said happily, "Well, let's do it. Let's do it quickly." Bulma nodded after hearing this. Well. Then, the two used medical ninjutsu on themselves. After the treatment of medical ninjutsu, their physical strength was restored. Feeling energetic, Chi-Chi and Bulma were very happy. Chi-Chi said happily, "Great, my physical strength has been restored, and I'm very energetic now." Hearing this, Bulma was also very happy, and she nodded in agreement. "Well, it's really great. Fortunately, we can think of this way. Sometimes, it's like this. Maybe something is clearly in your hand, but you look for it all over the world. In the end, you find that what you are looking for is in your hand. But when you are looking for it, you never find this. No one knows why this happened. It may be a short circuit in the brain, which is normal. Everything will have a short circuit. It is normal for the brain to have such a situation occasionally." Now, the physical strength of the two has recovered. Chi-Chi and Bulma are very happy. They can continue to fight again and have more physical strength to persist. They will definitely be able to persist until the end of the battle. They will definitely be able to do it. They cheer themselves up in their hearts. Chapter 602. Hatake Kusuo has been fighting with Frieza for a long time, but the two have not been able to decide the winner. Because before, when Hatake Kusuo was fighting, he always used Frieza's skills, so the two fought evenly. Now, Hatake Kusuo has used all of Frieza's skills. But he has not defeated Frieza yet. Hatake Kusuo is not going to continue this way of fighting, because there is no possibility of defeating Frieza. Fighting like this will only last forever, and there will be no end. Even if Frieza has time to waste time with him. But Hatake Kusuo has no time to waste time with Frieza. He must hurry up and end this battle as soon as possible. Hatake Kusuo combined Frieza's death beam and shuriken together. Attack like this. Although Frieza avoided the death beam, he could avoid one thing but not the other. When he saw the shuriken coming at that moment, Frieza suddenly felt that this scene was very familiar, as if he had seen it somewhere. At first, he really couldn't figure it out. Later, Frieza finally remembered that this was the scene when he attacked Son Goku just now. It was the same at that time, and he launched two attacks in succession. Son Goku could dodge the first attack, but he couldn't dodge the second attack. During the second attack, Krillin blocked the attack for Son Goku. But now, Frieza thought that all his men were busy. No one should come to block the attack for him. So, Frieza could only watch the shuriken attack, and then he was attacked. Frieza thought he would be injured. Because he couldn't dodge it at all, it was too close, and he couldn't react so quickly. However, when the shuriken attacked him, Frieza felt a little pain, but he was not injured because the armor modified by Doctor Who protected him. Seeing this, Frieza looked at the armor on his body in surprise. He was very surprised. I really didn't expect that this armor was quite useful, because, at the right time, when no one had time to save him, this armor protected him. It seems that he should really thank Doctor Who. Although he didn't know, and still couldn't figure out why Doctor Who helped him, and didn't ask for anything in return. Zero, please give flowers. Such unconditional help made Frieza more grateful to him. Doctor Who didn't announce his identity to him. Although Frieza would be very curious, he respected Doctor Who's approach. Hitaki Kusuo frowned when he saw that he couldn't hurt Frieza. The reason why Frieza couldn't hurt him was entirely because of the armor on his body. If it was before, Frieza would definitely be injured by this move. 0. Hitaki Kusuo was a little unwilling. He looked at Frieza in silence, and Frieza also looked at him, smiled smugly, and said, "Look, you can't hurt me." After hearing this, Kusuo Hitaki didn't say anything. He was silent for a while before answering with disdain. "The reason why I didn't hurt you was entirely because of the armor on you. Cut. Without that armor, you are nothing. But, Frieza, when did you add such an armor on your body?" After hearing this, Frieza snorted coldly. He answered, "Of course it was after I was resurrected. This was made for me by someone. Now, it has a protective effect. I really should thank that person." Work. Chapter 603. It sounds like this armor doesn't seem to be made by his father. Kusuo Hitaki is very curious. Who made this armor for Frieza? It seems that I haven't heard of any capable people beside Frieza. However, maybe there is, but Frieza kept it secret and didn't announce it to the public, so no one knows. Kusuo Hitaki asked him. Frieza, who made this armor for you? 053. Hearing this, Frieza thought of the mysterious doctor, and he answered confidently. As for who made it for me, you don't need to care. His identity was kept secret from me, and I naturally kept it secret from the outside world. Seeing this, Kusuo Hitaki was silent again. In silence, he thought about it, and then said to Frieza with a bit of disdain. Frieza, your strength requires the help of others to fight me. So, if you remove this armor, you can't really fight me. It seems that you haven't become much stronger after resurrection. You are too proud of yourself. Seeing Kusuo Hitaki mocking him, Frieza didn't say anything. He looked at Kusuo Hitaki quietly, and was silent for a while, and then Frieza answered disdainfully. I know you want to irritate me with this, but I won't fall for it, Kusuo Hitaki. I only care about the result. Maybe I can't beat you without this armor, but it doesn't matter. Since I have it, I just need to not take it off, isn't it? Seeing this, Kusuo Hitaki didn't say anything. He looked at Frieza in surprise, because he really didn't expect that Frieza would become like this. He didn't care about it at all. You know, the previous Frieza was very face-conscious. If he had said this to the previous Frieza, he would have been irritated. It seems that the resurrected Frieza has not only become stronger, but also changed his mentality. Kusuo Hitaki didn't say anything, and kept looking at Frieza in silence. Frieza also looked at him. Seeing that Kusuo Hitaki didn't say anything, Frieza smiled disdainfully and asked. What? Nothing can be done. Kusuo Hitaki, I am no longer the person I used to be. Now I am invulnerable, not only in combat, but also in spirit. So, Kusuo Hitaki, if you want to anger me with words, it is impossible. 0. Looking at Frieza, Kusuo Hitaki said nothing. He was really surprised. He didn't expect that Frieza would become like this. It really made him look at him with new eyes. It seems that the old tricks are useless to him. No matter the fighting method or the verbal attack, it is useless, because Frieza has not only become stronger in strength, but also in spirit. We need to find new ways to deal with the new Frieza. For a moment, Kusuo Hatake was actually a little panicked, because he hadn't come up with a new method yet, so he didn't know what method to use to deal with the current Frieza. If he couldn't come up with a method, he wouldn't expect Raditz and the others to come up with one. For a moment, the two were silent. Kusuo Hatake was quiet, while Frieza looked proud, because he knew that Kusuo Hatake had no way to deal with him. Humph, that's great. After he was resurrected, how could he be the same as before? Of course he had to be stronger, that's progress, otherwise, what's the point of standing still? Chapter 604. With the combined efforts of Raditz, Son Goku and others, they finally defeated Frieza's father. Seeing that Kusuo Hatake needed help, they didn't have time to care about Frieza's father, so they turned around to help Kusuo Hatake. Frieza saw Raditz and the others coming over. Seeing this, Frieza said nothing and used the ninjutsu that Hatake Kusuo had just used. Hatake Kusuo dodged it. He looked at Frieza without saying a word, while Frieza looked at him and looked down on Hatake Kusuo with disdain. HMPH, Hatake Kusuo, watch out, this is the trick you just used. Now, it's returned to you. It's not difficult to learn your ninjutsu. Frieza pretended to be very relaxed. He just wanted to deliberately provoke Hatake Kusuo, so that Raditz and the others would not really help him, and he would lose steadily. Hatake Kusuo was silent when he heard Frieza's words. Although he knew that Frieza was provoking him. This was a provocation. But Hatake Kusuo also benefited from it. On the other hand, Hatake Kusuo also wanted to try it out to see how strong he was. Thinking of this, Hatake Kusuo spoke. None of you should interfere. Upon hearing this, Raditz and the others who were about to help were stunned for a moment. They looked at Kusuo Hatake, hesitant, but didn't know what to say. Could it be that Kusuo Hatake couldn't see that Frieza was provoking him? He knew it was a provocation, but he still liked it. They couldn't figure out what Kusuo Hatake was thinking. Frieza was quite surprised by Kusuo Hatake's decision. He didn't expect that Kusuo Hatake really liked it. He also thought about failure. Seeing that Kusuo Hatake liked it, Frieza snorted coldly. This was exactly what he wanted. Kusuo Hatake said to Frieza. Frieza, I know you are provoking me, but it doesn't matter. It just so happens that I also want to know what my own strength is. Now, it's just right to test you. After hearing this, Frieza raised his eyebrows with interest. Frieza said, really? That's perfect. This is easy. Kusuo Hatake, I also want to know how strong you are. Let's not let other people participate. Let's just have a real fight by ourselves and see who wins in the end. Kusuo Hatake didn't say anything. He just looked at Frieza calmly. Frieza's tone sounded very confident. It seems that he has become much stronger after his resurrection. Kusuo Hatake can kill him before his resurrection, so can he kill him now after his resurrection? Kusuo Hatake didn't know. He didn't have the confidence. So, he wanted to try it. Anyway, when he couldn't beat him in the end, Raditz and the others could also take action. No matter what, his life would not be in danger. That's all. Kusuo Hatake looked at Frieza. Frieza stared at him. At that moment, Frieza really wanted to kill Kusuo Hatake. He had long disliked Kusuo Hatake, but unfortunately, he couldn't kill him. He really tolerated Kusuo Hatake for a long time. Every time, Kusuo Hatake wins. He feels that Kusuo Hatake is like his nemesis. Only by killing him can he live more peacefully. Otherwise, he will not be able to sleep at night. Kusuo Hatake looks at Frieza, and he can see the murderous intent in Frieza's eyes. It seems that Frieza really hates him to the bone. Since Frieza wants to kill him so much, then he can't keep Frieza. Chapter 605. Next, Kusuo Hatake officially attacks Frieza. Raditz and the others are quite nervous when watching this scene, because they are not sure whether Kusuo Hatake can defeat the resurrected and stronger Frieza. Kusuo Hatake is a flesh and blood body. Frieza's body is modified and protected by armor, so the two are not equal in this layer of the body. Not long after the first round of attack, Kusuo Hatake was hit by Frieza's attack. He was injured. Actually, Kusuo Hatake had attacked Frieza before, but his attacks were useless to Frieza because Frieza was protected by armor. But when Kusuo Hatake attacked him, those attacks were all blocked by the armor and could not break through the armor, causing Frieza to be injured. Looking at the injured Kusuo Hatake, Frieza snorted disdainfully. He said proudly, "Look, Kusuo Hatake, you really can't beat me. Your current strength is only based on the power of the joint. You can't beat me alone. It seems that my resurrection is correct. It makes me stronger." Diaresis. Frieza was confident about this. Kusuo Hatake used medical ninjutsu to recover himself. He listened to Frieza's words without saying a word, but with a gloomy face. Color. Hatake Kusuo also realized the seriousness of the situation. For a moment, to be honest, he didn't know what to do. Raditz and the others looked at this scene and were very worried about Hatake Kusuo. They really didn't expect that Frieza would become so powerful now. However, Raditz put forward his own opinion. Frieza has not become much stronger. He should still be the same as before. The real strength should be his armor. All attacks are useless to him, but it is not his own strength, but the armor that resists all attacks. So, just knock down his armor. After hearing this, Sun Wukong looked at Raditz in surprise. I really didn't expect that he could analyze such a theory. He was very rational and calm. Hatake Kusuo was treating. He looked at Frieza. In fact, at that time, he had the same idea as Raditz, that is, he must find a way to knock down Frieza's armor. Seeing this, after Hatake Kusuo treated his injuries, he looked at Frieza and sneered. Frieza, I have seen through your tricks, and I already know how to beat you. Upon hearing this, Frieza looked at Kusuo Hatake with a little surprise. He didn't expect that Kusuo Hatake had seen through the way to beat him in such a short time, although Frieza didn't know what the way Kusuo Hatake was talking about was. However, seeing that Kusuo Hatake could come up with a solution in such a short time, Frieza was still very angry. He hated Kusuo Hatake's cleverness, which also highlighted his stupidity. No one was willing to admit his stupidity. Frieza was angry. He said angrily, "What a joke, you are just provoking me. You are lying, do you think I will believe it?" As he said this, Frieza took the initiative to attack Kusuo Hatake. Although Kusuo Hatake had seen through the way to defeat Frieza, he had not yet found an opportunity, so when Frieza attacked him, he was constantly injured. Then, he used medical ninjutsu to heal himself. This happened over and over again. Raditz and the others watched and were very worried about Kusuo Hatake. Chapter 606. Son Gohan watched Kusuo Hatake being injured and healed over and over again. He felt that Kusuo Hatake was really beaten too badly. He really couldn't bear it. Son Gohan was jumping and shouting on the ground. Suo Hatake, come on, I believe in you, I believe you can do it. Hearing this, Kusuo Hatake looked down. Looking at Gohan on the ground, Kusuo Hatake was very moved. Even a child believed in himself. What could he not overcome? Thinking of this, Kusuo Hatake turned his head and looked at Frieza. He said to Frieza firmly, Frieza, this time, I must defeat you. Hearing this, Frieza raised his eyebrows calmly, looked at Son Gohan, and then looked at Hatake Kusuo, and asked disdainfully. Just relying on the words of a child. It can serve as an incentive. Hatake Kusuo listened, he snorted disdainfully and answered. Of course, the words of a child are enough, it is my best motivation. Seeing this, Frieza said disdainfully. Huh, it's really funny, since you said that, then come on, I want to see how you can defeat me now that you have been defeated by me. Hatake Kusuo didn't say anything. He just looked at Frieza, silent, and kept looking. At that moment, Hatake Kusuo's determination to win was extremely strong. Hatake Kusuo began to explode. He directly used the Great Fireball technique and the Big Ball Rasengan to attack Frieza together. Frieza looked at this attack and was shocked. Frieza immediately dodged. However, he could dodge one but not the other. Frieza was hit. Although he was not injured, the attack still worked. Frieza's extremely solid armor was cracked. Seeing this, Frieza was furious. He glared at Hitaki Kusuo. You. Looking at this, he was very happy and even smiled. Hitaki Kusuo said in a good mood. Finally it's attacked. Hitaki Kusuo also told Frieza the truth. What I just said, the way to deal with you is this, Frieza, in fact, you are not that powerful, your real power is just that armor. As long as your armor is broken, it will be easy to defeat you. Seeing this, Frieza didn't say a word. He just glared at Hitaki Kusuo. I didn't expect that Kusuo Hitaki would find his weakness. Frieza himself had never thought that his weakness was this. Now, after hearing what Kusuo Hitaki said, he realized that it was this. In this case, he must protect his armor well. He must not let Kusuo Hitaki touch it again. Kusuo Hitaki saw Frieza's serious expression, he smiled and said proudly. What do you think? Frieza, you are not proud now. Just now, weren't you still arrogant and proud? Now you are scared. Frieza didn't say anything after hearing this. He just looked at Kusuo Hitaki with hatred. At that moment, Frieza really wanted to kill Kusuo Hitaki, this damn bastard, who let him win every time. As long as Kusuo Hitaki is here, he can't do whatever he wants. This man is his nemesis. He can't be tolerated anymore. Raditz and the others were very happy watching this scene, because Kusuo Hitaki finally found the right way. As long as he continues in this direction, he will definitely defeat Frieza. Chapter 607. Now, Kusuo Hitaki has found the right way and the right direction. As long as he keeps attacking the cracks in the armor, it will break sooner or later. As long as the armor breaks, Frieza will be completely defeated. Kusuo Hitaki was very happy that he could find the right direction. He no longer hesitated and started to attack Frieza's armor directly. The first priority now is to break his armor first. Kusuo Hitaki launched a fierce attack. Then, he finally broke Frieza's shoulder armor. Seeing this, Frieza was angry and annoyed, but he had no way and could do nothing at all. Frieza could only protect his shoulder armor. However, when he made a subconscious move, his entire body was restricted in other aspects to accommodate his shoulder. So, Kusuo Hitaki attacked him even harder. Raditz and the others were very happy watching this scene. Raditz said excitedly. Well, you fight well. You should keep fighting like this. Soon, Frieza's armor will be broken. Sun Wukong saw this. He saw that Kusuo Hitaki was beaten badly by Frieza from the beginning. Now, it was the other way around. Frieza was beaten badly and Kusuo Hitaki was in a winning position. Sun Wukong felt that everything turned around too fast. It was really too fast. It seems that it really fits the saying that things change over time. Nothing is limited from the beginning. Maybe it's this person now, and that person next time. Kusuo Hitaki watched as Frieza kept making concessions to protect his shoulder, so that his whole state became very slow, not as high-spirited as before. Kusuo Hitaki attacked and mocked at the same time. Frieza, weren't you very arrogant just now? How about now? Frieza, remember, your pride is always only temporary, and you will always be the loser in the end. Frieza was also very angry when he heard this. He said angrily. Things haven't come to the final conclusion yet, don't be too proud too early, otherwise, you will be slapped in the face when the situation turns around later. Kusuo Hitaki replied disdainfully after hearing this. Humph, at this point, what can be a reversal? Frieza, can you really not see the situation clearly? Don't you know how embarrassed you are now? Zero, please give flowers. Frieza didn't say anything, he was just very annoyed. He wanted to change it all, but unfortunately, he didn't have the ability. Now trapped in this situation, Frieza felt helpless and desperate. He hated this feeling. However, he couldn't get out and couldn't break free. Raditz and the others watched the increasingly fierce fight. They were surprised. The battle was really exciting and they were overwhelmed. 0. The battle between Kusuo Hitaki and Frieza had reached a fever pitch. At this time, Kusuo Hitaki suddenly aimed at Frieza's shoulder and used a Nova attack. As long as this Nova attack hits and hits, then, Frieza's armor will definitely be knocked off at this time. Kusuo Hitaki excitedly waited for this moment to come. This is the last blow. Raditz and the others watched and looked forward to it excitedly. Frieza also watched. He had no time to dodge. He could only watch the Nova attack rush over and hit his shoulder. By then, his armor might break. Work. Chapter 608. Before Hitaki Kusuo's attack could hit him, everyone discovered that a special light-colored energy wave appeared on Frieza's body. What is that? Sun Wukong felt very strange. This power was incompatible with Frieza's original power. Obviously, this was not a power that Frieza could use, but why was it stimulated at this time? What does this have to do with the armor on Frieza's body? When Frieza saw Hitaki Kusuo's new star attack about to hit him, he felt extremely desperate. He was afraid that he would be killed by Hitaki Kusuo, and he was unwilling to let the battle end like this, so the negative emotion of despair occupied his mind. Frieza knew without thinking that he could not resist Hitaki Kusuo's new star attack at all. If his armor was broken, he might not even have a chance to turn over. No. Frieza roared, and a special energy was stimulated in his body. After Hitaki Kusuo found that the mysterious power in his body suddenly burst out, he immediately dodged backwards. He never thought that Frieza's power would become so strong. This was completely unlike the original Frieza. However, Frieza lost his consciousness at this moment, as if he had become a killing tool. Sun Wukong immediately reminded Hitaki Kusuo, quickly retreat. His current situation is very wrong. After hearing what Sun Wukong said, everyone retreated further. Frieza could not hurt them easily. Frieza's eyes were red. At this moment, the energy in his body was extremely powerful. Even Hitaki Kusuo's Nova attack could not break his armor. Instead, Frieza blocked it with his hand. In an instant, the two energies collided and a huge energy wave burst out. Everyone was far away from Frieza, so they were only shocked by the aftermath of the energy wave, and nothing else happened. Chi-Chi said with some fear, "Fortunately, you reminded us to retreat just now, otherwise we would be hit by his energy wave." Hitaki Kusuo paused and asked curiously, "Whose power is Frieza? He was able to block his Nova attack so easily." It was obvious that he only needed to hit one more time to break Frieza's armor zero. At this critical moment, Frieza suddenly became stronger again. Sun Wukong thought about it and said, "The power in his body is very familiar, like the doctor who we met before. The doctor whose power is extremely strong." He took advantage of the moment when Frieza lost control and immediately occupied Frieza's body sovereignty, but Hitaki Kusuo and others didn't know it now. Hitaki Kusuo was about to step forward to fight Frieza, but was stopped by his companions behind him. Chi-Chi held Hitaki Kusuo, very worried about his safety. But there was no way. Even if they didn't take the initiative to attack, Frieza would attack them. Get out of the way. Suddenly, Frieza rushed towards them at an extremely fast speed. In almost an instant, Frieza had already arrived in front of them. Chi-Chi widened her eyes and saw Frieza stretched out a hand towards her, with a huge energy ball gathered in his palm. Hitaki Kusuo also immediately attacked, and the two palms collided, and the veins on his palms popped out. Chapter 609. Hitaki Kusuo and Frieza retreated at the same time. It was obvious that their strength was almost the same, and both of them were injured to a certain extent. Chi-Chi was affected by their energy and flew several meters away. Fortunately, Sun Wukong flew over in time and hugged Chi-Chi, and neither of them was injured. The look in Hitaki Kusuo's eyes when he looked at Frieza again was a little different. Originally, he just wanted to defeat Frieza, but now seeing his companions injured, Hitaki Kusuo only hopes to kill Frieza completely and make him pay the price. "You have been hit by my full force. But you are not dead yet." Hitaki Kusuo took a few steps forward and rubbed his wrist. It was obvious that 06 wanted to really take action. Sun Wukong looked at him and frowned. They didn't know anything about Frieza's situation. If they went up rashly, they would probably get hurt. "Let me go first. After all, we don't know what his situation is now." Sun Wukong called Hitaki Kusuo, but the latter refused. Hitaki Kusuo closed his eyes and said with some relief, "You just guard everyone. If Frieza attacks you later, there will be someone to protect everyone." Besides, now Hitaki Kusuo suspected that Frieza had no self-awareness at all. Or, Frieza has become a puppet of Doctor Who, so his fighting power has soared. If other companions are asked to fight now, it is tantamount to asking them to die. After thinking about it, Hitaki Kusuo still thinks it is safest for him to go. Can you really do it alone? Chi-Chi was almost killed by Frieza, but it was Kusuo Hitaki who saved her, so Chi-Chi also hoped from the bottom of her heart that Kusuo Hitaki would be fine. Kusuo Hitaki didn't say anything, because he knew that even if he didn't go up, Frieza would not let them go. And his strength was not inferior to Frieza. Sun Wukong grabbed Chi-Chi, who was a little excited, and reminded her, even if he can't beat him, we can go up to help him and wait and see what happens. After hearing this, Chi-Chi looked at Kusuo Hitaki's expression again, and after confirming his intention, she had no choice but to give up. In this way, Frieza and Kusuo Hitaki started fighting. They fought hard, and it seemed that neither of them got any advantage. However, after all, Kusuo Hitaki still had his own consciousness. If he tricked Frieza a little, he would not be able to react at all. In just a few moments, Kusuo Hitaki injured Frieza in several places. His actions seemed to be unaffected at all. Why is that? Doesn't he feel pain? After Sun Wukong finished speaking, he felt something was wrong. Even if Frieza had no sense of pain, his body would not become dull and slow due to a large amount of blood loss. This way of fighting is undoubtedly a way of burning his own vitality. Will Frieza really do such a thing? They think it is impossible. Hitaki Kusuo's face was a little ugly. At this moment, he was already at the end of his strength. No matter how he attacked, Frieza on the opposite side did not react, and even took advantage of his attack to counterattack. This is simply impossible to defend against. Frieza seemed to completely disregard his own life and death. I can't fight anymore, come back quickly. Chi-Chi screamed. However, Hitaki Kusuo did not give up, and insisted on fighting to the last moment. This is his style. Chapter 610 Hitaki Kusuo almost tried his best to smash half of Frieza's body. At this moment, Frieza's armor was almost broken, but he didn't feel any movement blockage at all, nor did he lose strength because of the armor being damaged. Something is wrong. A normal person would probably be dead in this state. Sun Wukong said, pulling Chi-Chi back a distance, and at the same time he came behind Hitaki Kusuo. If Hitaki Kusuo couldn't defeat Frieza in a mad state, he could save Hitaki Kusuo as soon as possible. After smashing half of Frieza's body, Hitaki Kusuo's face became even uglier. At this time, Frieza's eyes were bloodshot, half of his shoulder was torn, and one arm was hanging on his arm, which looked particularly bloody and terrifying. But even so, Frieza didn't stop. Hitaki Kusuo thought very simply. If this level didn't make Frieza lose his ability to move, then just kill him completely. Step back, I'm afraid I might hurt you by mistake. Hitaki Kusuo stopped Sun Wukong from approaching from behind. Although Sun Wukong wanted to help, after all, Hitaki Kusuo had spoken, so he couldn't intervene. Helplessly, Sun Wukong had to retreat again. Chi-Chi stared at Hitaki Kusuo's movements nervously, fearing that if she blinked, unexpected changes would happen on the battlefield. But Hitaki Kusuo concentrated his mind, tried his best to gather his strength, and launched the most powerful ninjutsu. This was also his way to completely kill Frieza. Sun Wukong's eyes were pierced by the powerful energy overflowed by Hitaki Kusuo, and physiological tears flowed out uncontrollably. At the same time, Hitaki Kusuo also launched the final blow at Frieza. Seeing that Frieza didn't dodge, he was about to hit Hitaki Kusuo's attack. He was suddenly hugged by Frieza. Hitaki Kusuo was shocked and tried to shake Frieza off, but it had no effect at all. Frieza hugged him tightly like a piece of Maltose. He didn't think Frieza would have any good intentions. There must be something strange. This thought just appeared in Hitaki Kusuo's mind for a moment, and Frieza on the opposite side suddenly exploded. Hitaki Kusuo neither reacted nor could he shake Frieza off. Chi-Chi and Sun Wukong reacted quickly, but before they arrived, irreversible changes had already occurred. Almost at this moment, the powerful energy overflowed from Frieza's self-explosion almost blew through Hitaki Kusuo's abdomen. And Frieza turned into a pile of powder, floating everywhere. Cough cough. He covered his chest and coughed. He had inhaled the powder that Frieza had just exploded and choked him. Hitaki Kusuo half knelt on the ground, almost without the strength to support himself to stand up. Sun Wukong and Chi-Chi were a little unstable. They didn't expect that Frieza would use such a fierce counterattack. Would he rather die in glory, or was he controlled by the mysterious doctor and used as a puppet to control his life and death? The two had no time to think about it, and pulled up the bow to Hitaki Kusuo on the ground. While treating him, Chi-Chi asked anxiously, "Do you feel anything special now?" Chapter 611. Sun Wukong was also a little nervous. He was almost stunned when Hitaki Kusuo was injured just now. If time did not allow, he would almost rush up to pull Frieza down. However, almost no one expected such a thing to happen. Hitaki Kusuo half closed his eyes, his tone was particularly weak, and he almost couldn't speak. It can be seen that his injuries are very serious at the moment. No, except for the abdomen. After saying that, Hitaki Kusuo pointed to his stomach towards her. Chi-Chi sighed. Although she knew that being injured was inevitable, she still felt sad uncontrollably. If it weren't for protecting them, Hitaki Kusuo might not have to fight Frieza to the end. Thinking of this, Chi-Chi felt that she had to help him get through the difficulties anyway. Close your eyes and rest for a while, I will help you heal your wounds. Hitaki Kusuo nodded. Actually, he couldn't hold on any longer. When he fought with Frieza before, his strength was almost exhausted, not to mention that he was seriously injured. Chi-Chi's healing power was particularly gentle, and healed the wounds on Hitaki Kusuo's body bit by bit. The huge wound on his abdomen was almost visibly swollen, and it would no longer bleed. But Chi-Chi still felt that it was not enough. After all, the wound was so big that bleeding was inevitable, but she couldn't recreate the blood that flowed out of Hitaki Kusuo's body. I can only do this step. Chi-Chi's face showed a tired look, and the energy in her body was almost exhausted. Even if it was just like this, it only barely saved Hitaki Kusuo's life, and at the same time made his wounds better, which shows how serious his original wounds were. Don't blame yourself, I feel good now. Hitaki Kusuo waved away the hand that Sun Wukong was holding onto him and stretched his muscles. Although the wounds on his body were still aching, Hitaki Kusuo felt that he was almost fully recovered. Now there are more important things waiting for him to do. Before Frieza blew himself up just now, I found some clues on his back, which may help us find the real person behind the scenes. Everyone was attracted by what Hitaki Kusuo said. What's the problem? Everyone started to discuss. It was obvious that they were very interested in the question raised by Hitaki Kusuo. Otherwise, they would not have discussed here for so long. However, even if everyone was eager to get the news immediately, Hitaki Kusuo still only knew a few clues. He told everyone his ideas and won everyone's unanimous agreement. I'll listen to you on this matter. If you hadn't stood in front of us just now, we might not be able to survive now. Hitaki Kusuo was very moved. He didn't expect his partner to be so understanding. During their discussion, no one noticed that a spaceship quietly appeared in a corner of the sky. When everyone finally saw these uninvited guests, the entire sky was already full of spaceships. Their number was so large that they almost blocked everyone's sight. When did these things come? Everyone asked in surprise. Chapter 612. A group of people stared at the many spaceships flying in the air, as if they could see flowers. A spaceship slowly opened its hatch, and a group of people instantly locked their eyes on the spaceship. Soon, Doctor Who came out from inside. He looked down and saw a group of people staring at him. He smiled and said, "Are you welcoming my arrival? I feel very honored." Sun Wukong said with a puff, "I have seen shameless people, but I have never seen such a shameless person as you. You come here, why do you bring so many spaceships?" After hearing what Sun Wukong said, Doctor Who's face froze, but he quickly adjusted himself. He came here with a large group of Saiyans, so how could he be angered by Sun Wukong's words? Doctor Who sneered and said, "Of course I came to give you a big gift." At this time, Hitaki Kusuo's face suddenly changed and he pulled Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong turned around and looked at the person with a bad face and asked in a low voice what was wrong. Hitaki Kusuo whispered to Sun Wukong's ear, "The spaceship brought by Doctor Who seems to be full of Saiyans. I feel a lot of Saiyan breath." Sun Wukong's face turned very bad after hearing this. He wanted to rush up and beat up Doctor Who right now. Chi-Chi looked at the two people whispering in front of him and Sun Wukong also became strange. Chi-Chi walked up to ask Hitaki Kusuo, "What did you say to Sun Wukong? Why did he become so strange?" Hitaki Kusuo repeated what he had just said to Chi-Chi, and sure enough, Chi-Chi's face also became bad. Doctor Who in the air also noticed the changes in the faces of several people, and he laughed. "What's wrong? Why do you look so bad? Don't you like my gift?" Doctor Who asked, pretending to be concerned. Sun Wukong looked at the arrogant Doctor Who and said with gritted teeth, "Don't go too far." Doctor Who pretended not to understand and asked, "What's wrong with me? I came to give you gifts with good intentions, but you not only don't like it, but also say this to me. It really hurts my heart." Hitaki Kusuo interrupted Doctor Who and said helplessly, "Doctor Who, tell me, what is your purpose for coming here with so many people?" Doctor Who smiled and said, "I don't have any purpose. I just brought a gift to see you." "Zero please flowers." Sun Wukong snorted and said, "Don't pretend. Aren't you tired of pretending? What gift are you talking about? The gift you said is so many Saiyans." After hearing what Sun Wukong said, Doctor Who paused, as if wondering how he found out that he brought Saiyans. Kusuo Hitaki seemed to be explaining to him, "I feel the breath of Saiyans, and you brought so many spaceships, they must be full of Saiyans. Doctor Who, tell me your purpose, don't waste your words." Zero inches. Since you are so anxious, I will tell you. I came to you to ask Kusuo Hitaki to join my organization. If you join my organization, I will let you develop yourself better. How about it, are you tempted? Chi-Chi said with a puff. "You are a bad person, Kusuo will not join your organization. Just give up this idea." Doctor Who was a little unhappy. He stared at Chi-Chi without saying anything, as if he was thinking about how to execute her. Then he said again, "Kusuo Hitaki, think about it carefully, there are only benefits to following me." Gong. Chapter 613. Why should I join your organization? Kusuo Hitaki asked instead of answering. Why? Ha ha ha. Do you even need to ask? Of course it's because I'm the strongest person in this universe. Who else has the strength like me? Doctor Who laughed as if he heard a funny joke when he heard Seiki Kusuo's question, then looked at them arrogantly and answered. Then why did you choose me? 060. Duanmu Kusuo ignored his arrogance and asked. Duanmu Kusuo couldn't figure out why they had been entangled for so long. He suddenly made this request. Well, this is a good question. Doctor Who touched his chin and nodded, as if he agreed with Duanmu Nanshong's words, as if he also wanted to know. Ignore him. What good intentions can he have? He is full of bad water. Bah! Sun Wukong couldn't stand the look of Doctor Who, and looked at him with disdain. HMPH, Sun Wukong, don't be too arrogant, we have to settle accounts, I will slowly settle with you later. Doctor Who put away his good face and said sternly. You. Sun Wukong is not a person who has been wronged, and he is also an impatient person. He was about to speak with an angry face. He was stopped by Duanmu Nanshong. Brother Monkey, don't be angry, don't be angry. Now is not the time to act on impulse. Calm down, calm down. Duanmu Nanshong hurriedly comforted Sun Wukong. Now that Doctor Who's team has grown, it is not a good choice to anger him. Sun Wukong put away his golden cudgel and took a deep breath when he heard this. Okay, I'll let this old man go for your sake today. Duanmu Nanshong breathed a sigh of relief. Sun Wukong would not care about anything if he got angry. It would be better to let him talk less now. Now is not the time to take action. Doctor Who, I appreciate your kindness. But I won't agree to let me join you. Duanmu Nanshong looked up at Doctor Who on the spaceship. HMPH, Duanmu Nanshong, don't be shameless. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Only today, if you miss it, there will be no next time, you have to think about it before answering. Doctor Who was unhappy when he heard this. Duanmu Nanshong didn't want to waste words on this question. After thinking for a while, he asked, where is Frieza now? He wanted to know whether Frieza was dead or alive. HMPH, that waste has been useless for a long time. Not worth mentioning. Duanmu Nanshong, since you are not coming, don't blame me for being ruthless. It's a pity that you don't accept the toast and drink the penalty. If you follow me, why do you have to end up like this? Alas. Doctor Who mentioned Frieza with a look of disdain and then looked at Duan Munan with sympathy. Click, squeak, swish, 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 swish. At this time, the doors of all other spaceships behind Doctor Who were slowly opening. The Saiyans inside walked out of the spaceship in an orderly manner, with dull eyes, like robots. I don't know how Doctor Who controls it, but those Saiyan replicas all rushed straight to Duan Munanshong and others. Not good. Duan Munanshong shouted. While the people around him kept retreating, he was thinking about how to deal with it. This mysterious doctor started to destroy them. I'll do it. I've long disliked this old immortal. At this time, Sun Wukong took out his golden hoop and shouted at Duan Munanshong and others to fight. Chapter 614. Hitaki Kusuo stepped back a few times, staring at the mysterious doctor fiercely. This man is really haunting, following him wherever he goes. He actually took advantage of the chaos to come to Duanmu Kusuo's face. The two looked at each other, and he laughed out loud. I'll give you one last chance. Stop talking nonsense. Duanmu Kusuo was no longer polite. I'm giving you a chance, don't refuse a toast and drink a forfeit. Who wants your chance? Sun Wukong spat on the ground, raised his stick and flew out on tiptoe. Let's see. The doctor just glanced at him, and continued to stare at Hitaki Nanshong. Compared to this reckless man, I only admire you, Hitaki Nanshong. Hitaki Nanshong felt sick at the look, and naturally had nothing good to say. Who wants to go along with you? He said disdainfully. Hitaki Nanshong had heard about the little shit he did before. This guy only knows how to do things in a shady way. I don't know what will happen next, so I have to be careful. Sun Wukong still had a violent temper, and he wrestled with several Saiyans. Seeing this, Hitaki Nanshong stared at the doctor and looked at him. He called so many people this time, and he must want to kill them all here, so he had to think of a way. Although Sun Wukong was strong and agile, he was no match for these people and soon fell into a melee. Jia was also struggling and stepped back a few steps, leaning against Hitaki Nanshong and said, "These people are all clones, completely lifeless, it's not a good idea to fight like this." The Space Saiyan who spoke rushed over again, but was fortunately kicked away by Wukong's stick. What's the harm in following me, young man? The mysterious doctor spread his hands beside him and looked at them helplessly. These people have been controlled by me for a long time, and you can't escape today even if you have wings. He laughed loudly, and looked like he wanted to catch them all in one fell swoop. Although these Saiyans were completely controlled, it must be not that simple. Hitaki Nanshong turned around and looked for flaws in them. Doctor Who saw it at a glance, and continued to fan the flames, saying, "Why bother? You can't beat me. Surrender now, maybe I can spare your life." Stop talking nonsense. Sun Wukong said, tiptoed, and instantly jumped up. When the stick was about to fall on Doctor Who's head, several Saiyans appeared around him and surrounded him. Instantly, there was only the sound of sticks hitting each other, and birds flew away from time to time because of their movements. Hitaki Nanshong and Sun Wukong looked at each other. He went forward to provoke a fight, while Hitaki Nanshong went around and was about to hit Doctor Who. And he seemed to have eyes on his back, and just in a moment he took it away. He stopped to the side and turned his head, making a gurgling sound. Everyone was quiet, and the Saiyan stopped attacking. Only he could hear him say, "Okay, Nanshong Hitaki. Since you don't want to drink the wine, don't blame me for being rude." Nanshong Hitaki frowned, and had a bad premonition. Sure enough, the next second, he saw. He pressed the button in his hand, and the next second, his thin body changed drastically. The thin arms suddenly rose several times faster, bursting the original skin, and the normal face became hideous and scary. Jaw screamed. Isn't this the ultimate Saiyan? I didn't expect that Doctor Who could reach such a high level. This surprised everyone present. Chapter 615. Hitaki Kusuo was stunned when he saw the mysterious doctor who had turned into a giant ape in front of him. The mysterious doctor was stunned when he saw Hitaki Kusuo. He sneered and quickly launched his attack. Hitaki Kusuo, who came to his senses, looked at the mysterious doctor approaching him, and he quickly adjusted himself and went to meet him. The two of them collided in the air, and a lot of dust was raised around them in an instant, surrounding them in the middle, making Sun Wukong and others unable to see the situation clearly. Chi-Chi said with some concern, "Kusuo should be okay. I don't know how strong this mysterious doctor is after turning into a giant ape, and I can't see it clearly." Sun Wukong replied calmly that they should believe in Hitaki Kusuo. They were still worried about Hitaki Kusuo fighting with the mysterious doctor in the air, but they didn't know that the Saiyan replica behind them had also turned into a giant ape. At this time, Sun Wukong turned around and wanted to see the Saiyan behind him, but he didn't expect to be shocked when he turned around. What kind of Saiyans are there? They have all turned into giant apes now. He quickly pulled Chi-Chi's sleeve, and Chi-Chi said impatiently, "Why are you pulling me? Don't disturb me from watching Nanshong fight. I'm worried." Sun Wukong shouted, "Don't worry about him, worry about us. We seem to be surrounded." Chi-Chi was shocked after hearing what Sun Wukong said and turned around. Seeing that a group of giant apes had surrounded them, he almost fainted. Chi-Chi hid behind Sun Wukong in an instant, pulled Sun Wukong's arm and asked, "Why are there so many giant apes? We won't die here, right?" Sun Wukong glanced at Chi-Chi and said, "You are so talkative, hurry up and fight." Then he rushed over and fought with the giant apes. Chi-Chi looked at so many giant apes in front of him, and instantly ran to the side and shouted, "Come on, Sun Wukong. I'm here to cheer you up." After hearing what Chi-Chi said, Sun Wukong kicked a giant ape away and turned to him and said, "Come and help. I can't beat so many of them alone." Chi-Chi was still reluctant to go over, but the giant apes on the side would not let him do what he wanted. Several giant apes rushed towards him together. He shouted, "Sun Wukong, help me." His shout startled Hitaki Kusuo, who was fighting with Doctor Who. Hitaki Kusuo looked at the group of giant apes below and shouted, "Chi-Chi, hold on, I'm coming." Sun Wukong stopped him and said, "Just focus on your fight. Leave the rest to us." Sun Wukong quickly ran to Chi-Chi to help him deal with several giant apes. Chi-Chi resigned herself to fighting the giant apes. With Chi-Chi's help, a large number of giant apes were knocked down in an instant. Sun Wukong and Chi-Chi also gradually began to lose strength. Chi-Chi looked at the many giant apes left in front of him, and he said while panting, Sun Wukong, I can't do it anymore. How come there are still so many giant apes after fighting for so long? Sun Wukong sighed and said, "Okay, stop complaining, and continue fighting." He rushed towards another giant ape. He was already very tired and could no longer throw the giant ape away. He could only confront the giant ape. At this time, a giant ape suddenly appeared behind Sun Wukong and hit him on the back. Instantly, Sun Wukong was slapped and fell heavily to the ground. Seeing this, Chi-Chi ran to him and helped him up, and then continued to fight the giant ape alone. The giant ape fought harder and harder, while Sun Wukong and the other man were already wounded and more tired. The two gradually fell into a disadvantage. Chapter 616. Hitaki Nanshong looked Sun Wukong and Chi-Chi are having a hard time dealing with them now, and their expressions are a little ugly. It seems that Doctor Who is well prepared this time. Hitaki Kusuo and his friends did not expect so many Saiyan clones, and they are actually able to defend against them. So even if Sun Wukong is powerful, two fists can't beat four hands. So Hitaki Kusuo decided to help them, but Doctor Who was pestering him here, and he couldn't get away. Looking at Hitaki Kusuo's expression of wanting to help, he snorted in his heart. I thought Hitaki Kusuo was so powerful before, but now it seems that he is just like that. It seems that I have overestimated him. Hitaki Kusuo certainly didn't know what Doctor Who was thinking. As a result, he only muttered a few words, and then saw several black shadows flying out of his body. Then, a clone that looked exactly like Hitaki Kusuo appeared next to each Saiyan. The clone immediately entered the combat state after it appeared, which was something Doctor Who didn't expect. With the help of Hitaki Kusuo's shadow clone, the pressure on Sun Wukong and Chi-Chi was instantly reduced a lot, and they began to become more comfortable. Doctor Who was upset when he saw this. He didn't expect that Kusuo Hitaki actually had such a trump card. He must not let him go out alive. So Kusuo Hatake only saw the muscles on Doctor Who's body began to grow violently, and even bloodshot eyes appeared. Finally, Doctor Who stopped after growing 100 times. Sun Wukong and Chi-Chi only felt that they were shrouded in a shadow. Turning around, they saw a giant ape 100 times bigger than the previous one appeared in front of Kusuo Hatake. At this moment, the giant ape's eyes were red and very irritable. He was breathing heavily in his nose. Naturally, Doctor Who also saw the surprise of Sun Wukong and others, and he couldn't help feeling a little proud. No matter how powerful you are, what's the use? You are still being beaten by me now. After saying that, he raised his hand and hammered it hard on the ground, and a large pit of several dozen meters was smashed on the ground. The airflow impact generated by the blow was also very strong, affecting Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong, Chi-Chi and the others and the Saiyan clones all stepped back because they could not stand steadily. Seeing that Sun Wukong was vulnerable in front of him, he no longer cared about them and directly focused all his attention on Hatake Kusuo. As long as he could deal with Hatake Kusuo. Sun Wukong and the others were nothing. After all, he couldn't even beat his own Saiyans just now. So Doctor Who began to concentrate on attacking Hatake Kusuo. As Doctor Who's power grew stronger, Hatake Kusuo began to have some difficulty resisting. Later, Hatake Kusuo was directly suppressed by Doctor Who. In order to concentrate on resisting Doctor Who, Hatake Kusuo had to retract his shadow clone. As soon as the shadow clone was retracted, Sun Wukong and Chi-Chi became nervous again. Because the giant ape was not only huge in size, but also very hard, Hatake Kusuo could not hurt Doctor Who at all. For a while, the scene fell into a tense situation, and both of them were attacking frantically. Kusuo Hatake couldn't do anything to Doctor Who for a while, because he couldn't hurt him now, but Doctor Who's damage value has increased. Chapter 617. However, as Kusuo Hatake attacked, he found a weakness of his. The current Doctor Who has indeed become very large, but the problem that follows is that his movements are not as flexible as before. Because of Kusuo Hatake's attacks, he didn't dodge at all. Instead, he resisted them forcefully. Although Kusuo Hatake's attacks were like tickling to him. But Kusuo Hatake didn't believe that he really had no weaknesses, so Kusuo Hatake decided to delay time to find his weaknesses. So Kusuo Hatake took advantage of his convenience and began to tease Doctor Who one by one. He led him to attack him, but before his attack landed, Kusuo Hatake had already jumped away. So all of Doctor Who's attacks failed one by one. Doctor Who saw that Kusuo Hatake was right in front of him, but he couldn't hit him at all. There were already more than a dozen big pits in front of him, but Kusuo Hatake was still standing opposite him, and even had a smug smile on his face. Doctor Who began to get a little irritated, and his nose was wheezing even more. Suo Hatake saw that his goal had been achieved, so he stood up and flew into the sky. Doctor Who also chased him, and the two fought all the way to space. When they arrived in space, Kusuo Hatake asked Doctor Who, "What exactly are you going to do? Why did you copy so many Saiyans? It must not be to simply create chaos." Speaking of this Doctor Who, he was proud. Now everyone knows how powerful the Saiyans are, but he can create Saiyans, and there are also this group of Saiyans. Now Doctor Who only thinks that Kusuo Hatake is a dead man, so it doesn't matter if he tells him his purpose. Since you want to know so much, I'll tell you. Everyone knows how powerful the Saiyans are, and now I have a group of them. Do you think I'm invincible? After saying that, he seemed to think of how Sun Wukong couldn't beat his clone just now, and he began to laugh. What are you laughing at? Hatake Kusuo was a little confused as to why Doctor Who suddenly laughed. I'm laughing at the fact that you can't even beat my clones. I'm not far from ruling the universe, haha. Looking at Doctor Who's arrogant smile, I didn't expect that his goal was to rule the universe. Zero, please give me flowers. Hatake Kusuo snorted coldly, you're so arrogant. How can someone as crazy as you let you rule the universe? You're dreaming. Looking at Hatake Kusuo's righteous appearance, Doctor Who laughed even louder, and the unpleasant sound echoed in Hatake Kusuo's ears. Zero. I will rule the universe, but you can't see it. I will kill you in a moment and absorb your power. Then all your abilities will be mine. But, don't worry. I will drain your blood and make more copies. Then, on the day I rule the universe, you will have made a great contribution. How is it? The expression of the doctor in a hurry to thank me really disgusted Hitaki Kusuo. It turned out that his original intention was on me. It seems that today is destined to disappoint him. Oh my god, after all, I still have this trump card. It is estimated that Doctor Who has thought that he is at the end of his rope. After such a long period of dealing with each other, Kusuo Hitaki has found Doctor Who's weakness. Work. Chapter 618. Doctor Who spoke very confidently, perhaps because he really has the strength. After seeing Kusuo Hitaki, he was not afraid at all, and he even felt. With his own strength, it is more than enough to reach Kusuo Hitaki. Kusuo Hitaki is willing to fight with him, which is clearly seeking death. It may be because Doctor Who is used to winning and can't stand the scene of losing, so 063 would say so, and he can't lose this time. If he loses to Kusuo Hitaki, it would be too shameful, and it would also ruin his original plan. She gathered her strength and prepared to fight Kusuo Hitaki to the death, but he felt that he was not the one who fell. But after Doctor Who finished speaking, Hitaki Nansu looked very indifferent and sneered, which made Doctor Who feel very uncomfortable. He wished he could kill Hitaki Nansu right now and get its energy, so that he could get rid of a thorn in his side. Moreover, Hitaki Nansu had been hindering Doctor Who for a long time, and he really couldn't stand it. Stinky boy, why are you laughing? Don't think that what I said is nonsense. Next, I will let you know how powerful my ability is. You can't laugh here. It's so hateful. No one has ever laughed at me like this, and they also have such a contemptuous expression towards me. I think you are tired of living. Are you in such a hurry to die? Don't worry, I will let you go to another world soon, so that you can take a last look at this beautiful world. It's not that he said it, and it was so powerful, but Hitaki Nansu felt that it was just a bluff. The Doctor Who could only make some high-tech things at most. The others are not as good as him, and the more Hitaki Kusunoki looks at this Doctor Who, the less he seems to be the one who rules the universe, but rather a joke. Oh, really? Then show me your real ability, don't let me laugh at you later. To be honest, you are an old man older than me. I really don't have the heart to do that, but who made you have such a crazy idea? Don't blame me. I'm afraid it's not me who will leave this world, but you, right? After hearing this, Doctor Who was of course very angry, but before she could react, Hitaki Nana directly used physical skills and kicked Doctor Who away after using it. This was really beyond Doctor Who's expectations. He didn't expect Hitaki Nana to be so powerful. Zero. You just want to use this three-legged cat's kung fu to deal with me. Even if your current ability is not up to it, you don't have time to go back to practice, because I won't allow you to leave. Don't you want to fight to the death? Then hurry up. I think this war with a clear outcome is very meaningless. I don't know what you think of it. Just when Doctor Who stood up and prepared to fight back against Hitaki Nan, he didn't expect that Hitaki Nan actually suppressed Doctor Who in time and didn't let him stand up and fight back again. It wasn't that he couldn't breathe because he was suppressed, but he didn't have the ability to use kung fu at all. He was like a sandbag, and he was beaten back and forth by Hitaki Nan. He didn't have any strength. He was beaten to pieces after a few hits. Chapter 619. Doctor Who was forced by Hitaki Nan. Now, as long as Hitaki Nan shook his hand slightly, Doctor Who would die. Doctor Who stared at Hitaki Nan with his eyes wide open. He couldn't believe that there would be such a day, and he didn't expect Hitaki Nan to beat him like this. He didn't have the strength to fight back a few times. The battle was about to end, but it only lasted a few minutes, and Hitaki Nan hadn't even had enough. Hitaki Nan sneered again. This time, when Hitaki Nana laughed, she didn't hear Doctor Who there. Like before, she was noisy. She seemed so honest. She no longer refuted or struggled. He felt that he couldn't struggle. 06. Goodbye, Doctor Who. Hitaki Nana raised her hand. Doctor Who's eyes were as round as glass balls. He could clearly see how many bloodshot there were in her eyes. He looked at Hitaki Nana in disbelief, but Hitaki Nana didn't feel any joy, because killing such a weak person really didn't give him any sense of accomplishment. When Hitaki Nana was about to end Doctor Who's life, something happened. The heroine below was suddenly caught by a Saiyan replica, which prevented Hitaki Nana from ending Doctor Who's life. When Doctor Who saw this phenomenon, he was overjoyed. He found that his death date was not today. The Saiyan replica came like this, which meant that Doctor Who still had a chance. Don't worry about me. You can have nothing to worry about after you kill the mysterious doctor. After that, run away quickly and don't stay here any longer. This Saiyan replica is really powerful. Once the two of you fight, it's hard to tell who will win or lose. Don't underestimate the replica. It may even be more powerful than the real one. You must be cautious and don't underestimate the enemy. The heroine in the hands of such a man kept struggling, and then she was very worried that Hitaki Minasu would save her, so she begged Hitaki Minasu, but Hitaki Minasu still showed a very ugly face, and his eyes were looking straight at the heroine. Looking at the replica of the Saiyan, although he was a copy, he also had emotions, and was almost exactly the same as the original. If you don't say it, you can't tell what the difference is between them. Just when Hitaki Minasu frowned, Doctor Who suddenly stood up, and then ran to the Saiyan, and acted very proud. He tidied up the fan that was just messed up by Hitaki Minasu, and then brushed off the dust on his body. This time Doctor Who got the upper hand again. Hitaki Minasu hated it so much that he gritted his teeth and clenched his fists to look at Doctor Who and the replica of the Saiyan. The heroine kept asking Hitaki Minasu not to mind her business, but Hitaki Minasu's conscience did not allow him to do so. He felt that he had to save the heroine. See, this woman is in my hands. As long as you agree to my conditions, I can let her go. But if you don't cooperate, there's nothing I can do. Doctor Who took this opportunity to bargain. Hitaki Kusunoki just regretted that he didn't kill Doctor Who in time. Chapter 620. Doctor Who was talking about his conditions, and the Saiyan replica mentioned Chi-Chi. Goku shouted loudly. Let her go. He rushed towards the Saiyan replica. Bang! Two Saiyan replicas suddenly appeared and blocked Sun Wukong's way. Get out of the way! Get out of the way! Sun Wukong shouted loudly, and the sound seemed to come from the abyss. Seiki Kusuo, who was far away, heard it. Sun Wukong turned into a Super Saiyan and fought with the two Saiyan replicas. One punch and one kick, in an instant, I don't know how many times they hit, and the sound was drawn in the air, which shows how fast it was. However, no matter how powerful Wukong was, he couldn't beat four hands with two fists, and gradually fell behind. The Saiyan replica kicked Sun Wukong in the stomach. Ah! A mouthful of blood spit out from Sun Wukong's mouth, but the opponent didn't give Sun Wukong a chance to breathe. Another punch came, and the force of this punch was so great that it directly knocked Sun Wukong 10 meters away. Sun Wukong, who was leaning against the stone, was already covered with wounds. Sun Wukong felt pain when he stood up at that moment, and immediately took a bite of senzu bean to recover his body. The Saiyan replica saw that Sun Wukong couldn't stand up for a while. So the Saiyan replica lifted Chi-Chi up. On the other hand, Doctor Who was very proud at this moment. Looking at the injured Sun Wukong, Seiki Kusuo couldn't beat him for a while. Doctor Who laughed arrogantly. Ha 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 ha, you should just surrender like this. It's useless for you to just resist like this diaresis. But Sun Wukong and his friends knew that Doctor Who's power was unfathomable. If they didn't pay attention, the entire universe would be in danger. Wukong and his friends refused to agree to his conditions. Doctor Who was furious. If you don't agree, I'll let her die in front of you. Chimu Kusuo didn't want to see anyone die. Chimu Kusuo thought to himself, Doctor Who is such a mean person. He can't beat him but he actually threatens her with a hostage. Chimu Kusuo, who was always calm, felt a little nervous. His brain was turning quickly, thinking about how to save Kiki. Chimu Kusuo suddenly had an idea that there were always more solutions than difficulties. I can let you go, but you must let Kiki go. How can it be so simple? You want me to let her go just for this? Doctor Who said suddenly. You don't dare to do it. You'd better think clearly about your current position. The goddess of luck is here with me now. Don't be ungrateful. Chimu Kusuo waved his hands helplessly. What do you want? Say what you want. While they were talking, their fight was still going on. Chimu Kusuo used telekinesis to attract meteorites to attack Doctor Who. Doctor Who waved his hand, and the huge mechanical claws grabbed the meteorites. Bang! The falling stones flew everywhere, and everyone hurried to avoid them. Doctor Who was so powerful that he seemed unstoppable. Chi-Mu Kusuo hurried to avoid the mechanical arms that came from Wang Zhao. It would be terrible if I got hit. Chi-Mu Kusuo thought to himself. You can give me your blood, too. Doctor Who had a wishful thinking in his mind. He could clone with Chi-Mu Kusuo's blood by DNA technology, although the finished product might be a little bit off. But thinking about how powerful his own technology was, these were all minor problems. Chi-Mu Kusuo looked at the injured Goku. Okay, I promise you. Chapter 621. Sun Wukong is still recovering his strength, and he doesn't know when he can recover. There is also a Saiyan replica below. The iron arm of Doctor Who can't move again, Seiki Kusuo thought to himself. I don't know if this plan will work, but it's worth a try. Seiki Kusuo took out the equipment from the dimensional hole, inserted the blood bag into his veins, and drops of blood entered the blood bag. Doctor Who rubbed his hands excitedly, feeling that the day when he ruled the universe was not far away, and it was just around the corner. With the Super Saiyan replica, this god of close combat, he will soon gain superpowers again. The clone of the person who created the person is hard to find an opponent in this universe. He has all kinds of human weapons, and he is also a superpower who can attack and defend at the same time. How come there are more? Is it enough? Almost. Doctor Who looked at Seiki Kusuo, who had half a bag of blood in his blood bag. He began to feel restless, and the opportunity to unify the universe was right in front of him. Doctor Who was still a little vigilant, afraid that this thing was a bomb. Hit it a few times first, then wait for it to come over and pass it to me. In order to dispel Doctor Who's vigilance, Seiki Kusuo hit the blood bag a few times. And slowly approached. Seiki Kusuo and Doctor Who got closer and closer. Doctor Who quickly grabbed the blood bag in Seiki Kusuo's hand. He showed an excited smile and touched it again. After confirming that it was correct. The opportunity to be the only one in the world is right now, ha 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 ha. Puff. Doctor Who's hand holding the blood bag was pressed down, and Doctor Who was shocked and hurriedly moved his body. The smile of Doctor Who in the last second was frozen in an instant. Now he was shaking his body frantically, waving his mechanical arm, trying to kill the clone. But it was too late, the clone was already in his hand. Doctor Who quickly turned his body to get rid of the clone, but Seiki Kusuo's clone was stuck and could not move. Ah, this thing can't be used. This is the 7 days lock of love stronger than gold. Doctor Who was shocked and quickly asked the Saiyan replica to kill Chi-Chi. But he never expected that another clone had already gone over and suppressed the replica. At the same time, Sun Wukong woke up and rushed over with Seiki Kusuo's clone, opened the Super 3 state, and fought with those Saiyan replicas. With Seiki Kusuo's clone, the fight was much easier. 2 Saiyan replicas were blown up at once. The last Saiyan replica was knocked down by Sun Wukong after being knocked away by Seiki Kusuo's clone. The Saiyan replica could not rise again. The two worked together to save Chi-Chi. At that moment, the battle situation turned around. The Doctor Who had always been high and mighty, was now being pressed down by Seiki Kusuo's clone. At that moment, Doctor Who thought clearly and had made up his mind. Now all his equipment could not help him. He shouted loudly. I will never surrender even if I die. Doctor Who stabbed the thigh of the clone with the bayonet in his hand. Ding! It was like hitting steel. It turned out that the clone opened the shield. Doctor Who's heart was cold. That sound was like announcing Doctor Who's failure. Seiki Kusuo did not intend to give Doctor Who a chance to breathe. Ropes appeared inside, and all Doctor Who's equipment was removed, and Doctor Who was tied up with ropes. Chapter 622. Doctor Who was unwilling to give up. He twisted his body desperately, moving his hands and feet together, trying to break free from Seiki Kusuo's rope. However, he found that it didn't work at all, and he couldn't help but feel a little frustrated. Chi-Mu Kusuo smiled coldly and watched the struggle of Doctor Who indifferently. How could the rope he created be easily broken free? It was so naive. Doctor Who struggled for a moment and found that the rope that bound him didn't change at all. He immediately realized that this way wouldn't work, so he changed his mind. He secretly glanced at Chi-Chi and Sun Wukong, and planned his chances of escape. Chi-Mu Kusuo always paid attention to his movements. Seeing that Doctor Who was observing others with a sly look, he felt bad. So he decisively tightened the rope. Doctor Who felt pain and glared at him fiercely. Chi-Mu Kusuo snorted coldly, "Don't have any crooked thoughts about me." Doctor Who turned his head away disdainfully, thinking, how could he not have any crooked thoughts? Chi-Chi and Sun Wukong saw that Doctor Who had stopped struggling, and they were delighted. They stepped forward and said to Seiki Kusuo, "It should be okay this time." Doctor Who listened to what the two said, slowly lowered his head, a faint light flashed in his eyes, and a plan came to his mind. Seiki Kusuo smiled when he heard it, but didn't dare to nod, because he always had a bad premonition in his heart. He looked back at Doctor Who quietly staying in the distance with doubt. A big question arose in his heart: Doctor Who would actually obey. Doctor Who would naturally not obey, and he was lowering his head and muttering to himself. "Since I can't run away, I won't let you succeed," Doctor Who said secretly. Seiki Kusuo and Chi-Chi chatted for a while, and suddenly Seiki Kusuo's heart beat suddenly. "No. It's so wrong." Seiki Kusuo hurried to Doctor Who, stretched out his hand to force Doctor Who to raise his head, and then he found that Doctor Who was counting down. His eyes suddenly widened, and Seiki Kusuo immediately understood what the doctor was doing. He wanted all the replicas to explode. "Quick! Block all the intersections." Seiki Kusuo realized it later and shouted. As soon as he finished speaking, a loud explosion suddenly sounded around. Bang! One after another, the replicas began to explode one after another, a lot of smoke spread, and the surrounding scene suddenly became blurred. "Zero, please give me flowers." Chi-Chi was frightened by the explosion and screamed. "Ah!" Sun Wukong hurriedly comforted her. Seiki Kusuo covered his mouth and nose, not daring to move at all, for fear of touching the replicas that were exploding one after another products. In the chaos and explosions, the extremely arrogant voice of Doctor Who was particularly abrupt. 0. Haha, idiot, you only found out now, it's too late, haha. After shouting, Doctor Who turned around and left the place without hesitation. After all, Seiki Kusuo's strength was no joke. When he got used to it, it would be too late for him to run. Doctor Who felt that his life was at stake and quickly fled to the spaceship in the sky. As soon as he got on the spaceship, Doctor Who's heart was at ease, so he began to be arrogant again. Looking at Seiki Kusuo's embarrassed look, he couldn't help but sneered at Seiki Kusuo again. "Nothing special, Seiki Kusuo, I thought you were so powerful, but in the end, you were still fooled by me." The voice of Doctor Who was neither loud nor soft, and Chi-Chi and Sun Wukong just happened to hear his sarcasm. Work. Chapter 623. Chi-Chi was so angry that she forgot to be afraid and stared at the spaceship in the sky fiercely. Seiki Kusuo had already adapted, and immediately found a way out of the fog and ran out at a high speed. Doctor Who was a little surprised. He didn't expect Seiki Kusuo's adaptability to be so strong. He originally thought that the chaos of the replica explosion could delay Seiki Kusuo for 2 or 3 minutes. However, there was no time to be surprised now. Doctor Who started the spaceship unconsciously and prepared to escape quickly. Sun Wukong followed Seiki Kusuo out, and saw Doctor Who driving the spaceship to escape. He sneered and said, "Leave it to me." Seiki Kusuo raised his eyebrows, a little surprised, nodded, and stopped. Sun Wukong immediately activated his skills, turned around and transformed into the Saiyan second gear form. After the transformation, Sun Wukong immediately started super acceleration and chased Doctor Who forward. Doctor Who only paid attention to Seiki Kusuo, and unexpectedly found that Seiki Kusuo actually stopped. He complacently thought that the speed of his spaceship was too fast. Seiki Kusuo couldn't catch up, so he gave up. When he thought of this, Doctor Who couldn't help but hum a song happily. He thought disdainfully in his heart, "Tisk, the famous Seiki Kusuo is just like this." Bang! Suddenly, the hull of the spaceship was hit violently. Doctor Who's heart skipped a beat. "What's going on?" Exclamation mark. He quickly stuck his head out and looked outside, and saw a Super Saiyan desperately destroying his spaceship. "Who is this again?" Doctor Who shouted in a somewhat collapsed state. A flash of inspiration came to Doctor Who, and he looked behind him again, and found that Seiki Kusuo was standing there leisurely. He immediately understood who this Saiyan was now. Who else could it be except Sun Wukong? Doctor Who gritted his teeth. While he was guessing, the spaceship was hit violently by Sun Wukong again. The fuselage shook with Doctor Who, and Doctor Who knew that he couldn't delay any longer, and he had to become a Saiyan, otherwise he would only be beaten. As soon as he said it, Doctor Who pressed the transformation switch, and the energy on the spaceship was suddenly absorbed by Doctor Who, and all went to him. The spaceship disappeared, but all the energy went to Doctor Who. Doctor Who transformed into Super Saiyan Giant Ape Gear 2. Sun Wukong looked at the Super Saiyan Giant Ape that had become extremely tall in front of him, and couldn't help being surprised. This spaceship can also transform at will like him. Sun Wukong frowned and thought, no, if this is the case, then Doctor Who's ability will become more and more terrifying. Doctor Who saw that the Super Saiyan that Sun Wukong turned into was motionless, thinking that he was scared by himself, and couldn't help but become more proud. Haha, you can't beat me, I have plenty of ways to deal with you. Shinshong looked at the Saiyans and Saiyan giant apes in the distance, raised his eyebrows, and thought to himself, I wonder how strong Sun Wukong is. He stood there with his arms folded, ready to continue watching the show without panic, but Chi-Chi was almost dying of anxiety. What should I do? What should I do? The Saiyan ape transformed by Doctor Who is so big, will Sun Wukong be defeated? It's okay, trust him. Seiki Kusuo said. Chi-Chi heard that Seiki Kusuo was not nervous at all, and thought that maybe she was overthinking, so she had to continue watching quietly. Sun Wukong was not afraid of the Saiyan ape. Hearing the arrogant words of Doctor Who, he snorted coldly. It's not certain who is afraid of whom. Chapter 624. Doctor Who didn't intend to talk too much nonsense with Sun Wukong. Doctor Who spoke hurriedly. The first to strike is the strongest, and the last to strike will suffer. Then he sent a big energy punch to several people on the opposite side, and the energy wave generated suppressed Sun Wukong several meters away. Sun Wukong moved in front of Doctor Who in an instant and punched like a storm. Hit Doctor Who's stomach. But this was just like tickling for Doctor Who in Super Saiyan 8 Gear 2. Doctor Who said suddenly. Are you tickling me? You have so little strength. Did you not have enough lunch or something? Sun Wukong ignored him and kicked him with all his strength. The kick was as fast as lightning. Doctor Who wanted to defend but the speed was too fast to stop. Sun Wukong followed closely and kicked him a few more times. Doctor Who touched his stomach and let out a sigh of relief. Finally, a little, it looks like it has become more interesting, adding some fun to this boring battle. On the other hand, Chi-Chi suddenly squatted down with her head in her arms, sweating profusely. Seiki Kusuo asked worriedly. Chi-Chi, what are you going to do? Chi-Chi was sweating profusely, her face was grim. I don't know, I suddenly felt very uncomfortable. Black smoke slowly emerged around Chi-Chi's body. Seiki Kusuo felt terrified and asked worriedly. What's going on? Why is there black smoke around your body? What's going on? Sun Wukong and Doctor Who fought more and more bravely. Sun Wukong shouted loudly. Take my Kamehameha. Put his hands on his waist to absorb the surrounding air and energy. Doctor Who said proudly after seeing it. I can do this too, don't think you are the only one who can do it. He also imitated Sun Wukong. He absorbed the surrounding black energy, and the inscriptions on his arms gathered strength. Sun Wukong's white Kamehameha was ready to go. Bang! A white energy wave rushed towards Doctor Who. Doctor Who also hurriedly sent out the black Kamehameha wave in his hand. The two energy waves of different colors gathered in the air, emitting dazzling light. Ah! The two shouted. Sun Wukong exerted force in an instant and pressed forward with a very small advantage. Doctor Who was not to be outdone and also increased his strength. The black runes on his arm became brighter and emitted a faint blue light. The wound on Sun Wukong's arm split open and bled, and the black runes on Doctor Who's hand also became more and more. Bang! The two huge energies exploded in the middle. Sun Wukong was blown away. The black talisman slowly appeared here at Kiki, and Seiki Kusuo had a bad feeling. His hands clenched into fists involuntarily. His eyes were like fire, and his heart was furious. He flew to the spaceship of Doctor Who. A thin white light appeared at the fingertips. It passed through Doctor Who's spaceship. Although the Doctor's spaceship opened the protective cover, it was like a mantis trying to stop a car, and it was useless. With a series of explosions, Doctor Who's spaceship fell and was cut into two by Seiki Kusuo. After falling to the ground, there was another explosion. Doctor Who opened his mouth and said tremblingly with a look of surprise. "This man is so scary. My strongest defense is like paper in front of him, and it breaks with a pinch." Chapter 625. The irritable Doctor Who pressed the button on his chest. "I saw the spaceship that just fell slowly flying towards Doctor Who." Seiki Kusuo said in surprise. "The spaceship that just fell actually has this kind of operation." Doctor Who smiled proudly. "Don't underestimate me, my technology is much more powerful than you think. It's really uncomfortable to be looked down upon." The wreckage of the spacecraft became Doctor Who's armor, and the weapons that were shot down were also prepared for Doctor Who. Some parts entered Doctor Who's body and strengthened his body. The knocked-off Sun Wukong used instant transfer to teleport back. Seeing Chi-Chi with smoke around her body, the veins on his forehead burst, and his breathing gradually became rapid. Sun Wukong flew to Seiki Kusuo, looked at him, and also saw Doctor Who equipped with armor. The huge body and sturdy armor. "It's really scary," with the oppressive atmosphere filled the surroundings of Sun Wukong and Seiki Kusuo. But this was not the time to be afraid of this thing, as Chi-Chi was already in great pain. Seiki Kusuo released a clone and placed it next to Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi fainted in pain, and the clone supported Chi-Chi. This also allowed Sun Wukong and Seiki Kusuo to deal with Doctor Who with peace of mind. Doctor Who put his hands together, and a cold air rushed over. Seiki Kusuo pulled Sun Wukong to dodge. The cold air blew on the stone behind, and the stone was frozen and cracked in an instant. "This damage is too terrible, so much damage in an instant diaresis." Sun Wukong flew in front of Doctor Who and fired a Kamehameha wave at his face. Doctor Who opened the energy barrier. Blocking the attack on the face, Seiki Kusuo followed closely and fired a penetrating ray. Doctor Who hurriedly opened the energy absorption plate and absorbed Seiki Kusuo's penetrating ray. It was really dangerous. Doctor Who laughed. Two people fighting one person can't have the upper hand at all, which shows that this time Doctor Who used the armor and his strength increased greatly. "You come and I go." Sun Wukong hits close, Seiki Kusuo hits far. Doctor Who released the small fighting robot to fight Sun Wukong. Although Sun Wukong is more than enough to fight these small robots, there are too many of them. It's a bit tiring to fight. Seiki Kusuo swept a beam. Bang bang. It was like fireworks in the sky, and the already bright sky became brighter in the explosion. Doctor Who said sarcastically. "If you two keep fighting like this, your girl may not live to the day after tomorrow." The two were at a loss for a moment. There is a flaw. Doctor Who said when the two people's minds were empty. He punched the two people into the ground. The two stood up with difficulty. "You'd better think clearly, you don't have much time. You can't win at all in your current state. If you still want to save that girl, then come to the nearby planet to find me tomorrow." Doctor Who said this in a condescending manner, as if he was looking at an ant. The look really made Seiki Kusuo feel uncomfortable. Now that Kiki has the black curse, it is indeed an unwise choice to continue fighting with Doctor Who. "Should we look for you tomorrow?" Seiki Kusuo asked. "You will naturally find me when you go," Doctor Who said with a proud smile. Seiki Kusuo pulled Sun Wukong to prevent Sun Wukong from fighting with Doctor Who. Doctor Who turned around. With a whoosh, he disappeared into the sky.